Senator from Anderson, you're recognized to speak to the motion.
Speak to the matter, Mr. President.
Please proceed.
Mr. President, I'm not going to spend everyone's time talking about all of the good parts of this bill. We've heard an overview of what this includes. There are several good things, particularly ballot harvesting, and I got to say I'm not even a fan of election month. I'm really a fan of election day, and surprisingly this bill does, I feel like, strike into perhaps the right spot to reduce the 12, 19 plus days of voting that we've had, not just in 2020, Mr. President. Several people are aware, perhaps you've used it, I've used it before, but it was on the day before election, early voting. And I didn't like it being a whole month, so I certainly appreciate those efforts. But I have to tell you about a time recently I saw our Congressman Thomas Massey, and I think somebody asked for a picture or whatever, so he pulls out his phone, he's going to take a selfie of us, and his phone, I think it's one version more updated than my phone, Mr. President, but he's got tape over his camera. Of course, I've got the newest phone you can get without biometrics. And Mr. President, his comment when somebody looked at it and pointed out the fact that his phone was ancient, he said, well, I just know too much. And so that is the reason why I have to stand up to say I am going to be voting no on this bill, because I know too much. If you look at page 55, for example, of our 168-page committee subparagraph 23, these voting machines are going to produce a real-time audit log record for the voting system and produce a paper record with a manual audit capacity, which shall be available as an official record for any recount conducted related to any primary or election in which the system is used. What does that even mean? I would submit to you this entire bill was written around a vendor. And I have a real problem when we're writing our laws to fit the vendor rather than the vendor creating the system to fit our laws. And the reason why this is problematic is I think it's not a secret that the news has been kind of covered up with this, and not just this past year, Mr. President. I was looking into the issue several months ago and ran into January 2020 report where Kentucky's voting systems, yes, the current ones that we have by HARP and ES&S, both of which, I didn't bring the article with me to the floor today, Mr. President, both companies admitted that their machines were capable of being hooked to a network. Actually, there were 3 companies that were in the same category regarding 11 states with very serious issues in the cybersecurity study, Mr. President. The 3 names you may be familiar with, HARP and ES&S, because those are the ones we have here in Kentucky, and the third was a company called Dominion. And there is a lot to be identified out of continuing investigations. There's a lot that's been identified, and I won't, neither can't share it here on the floor, but what I would like to say is that we have to be extremely careful, and I appreciate this body passing language already this year to be sure that our machines are not connected to network, but I would want to make sure everybody's aware when we're talking about paper. The reason I read that section about the paper audit trail, we're not talking about the papers that we have been going to our voting locations and you pick it up, you get a pen, there's a little cardboard stand, you fill it in, and you stick it in the counting machine. We're talking about going back about 20 years when I first went to a voting booth in Kentucky with my parents, where it was, all machine. It is long line, all waiting to use this machine. We're talking about a system that is in fact machine oriented to where you have to use the machine to create the paper. It's not a blank paper, it's going to be printed for you after you have placed your selections. I would submit that adds 2 lines, which is not what we're looking for, and it also is absolutely unnecessary relating to cost. Why we need a machine for everybody to be able to fill in a couple of bubbles on a piece of paper is beyond me. I understand the importance of being able to have the ADA accessibility, but Mr. President, I think the ADA people are used to and okay with, having accommodations, and certainly we can cut costs immensely if we have papers and don't need all of those machines, particularly as it relates to reducing precincts and combining machines there. So I will not belabor all other 167 of the pages, some of which don't have any issues at all, but throughout the whole voting system thing, I want everyone to be aware we are not going to have another election until 2022, unless there's a special. But I would encourage every single member of this body to go meet with your clerk, find out about the machines that you're using. If you're concerned about paper ballots, ask. Because to say that there is a paper, believe it or not, those old machines that had receipts that you never touched the paper still counted in legalese as having paper. So we need to know what we're talking about when we are voting on this bill. I will be voting no. I encourage others to do the same. Thank you.